Hello, welcome to the Medical Reserve Corps OCME Support Team Training. I am Michael Magner. I am the State Volunteer Coordinator, also continuing to act as the Central Region Health Emergency Coordinator for the Virginia Department of Health. It is my pleasure today to introduce Perla Santillan, who will be providing for us an overview of the OCME Support Team role. Perla, over to you.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining to this presentation and learn more about the OCME and some of the volunteer opportunities that we have here for you. So just wanted to let you know that this presentation was prepared by the great people of the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. So I thank them, all the ones who help us with this. Just want to give you all a quick overview of where we're going to look or we're going to talk about today. So first of all, we're going to talk a little bit about the OCME and its how it started and how we function. And then we're going to go about an MRC and OCME partnership that we have had throughout the years. And then we'll talk about our the OCME or the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner's areas of need, volunteer opportunities, volunteer timeframes, and also about our expectations if you decide to join the team, as well as how to join the team for this volunteer opportunity and next steps, and also what to expect once we arrive at the OCME offices. So let's get started with the VA Virginia Office of the Chief Medical Examiner overview. So first, I want to talk a little about our system. And as well as coroner system versus the medical examiner system. So coroners are elected officials and they're not uniformly required to be physicians. Medical examiners are physicians who have specialized training in pathology, and they are able to interpret death circumstances, injury, toxicology, and medical conditions to determine the cause and manner of death. The average education is between 11 to 18 years, sometimes a little bit more. And throughout the United States, there is many types of systems of medical examiners and coroner jurisdictions. So here at the map of the United States, you can see in the light pink, those states that are only county-based mixture of medical examiners and coroner offices. This means that some counties, they only have coroners, but some counties, they have medical examiners. And it is up to the counties to determine this, and to the state as well. So an example that I'm kind of familiar with, it's Texas. In Texas, a lot of the smaller counties only have coroners, and even sometimes just justice of the peace that are appointed by the judge. These are supported by the medical examiners in larger cities. An example is in Uvalde County, as we just heard recently, they only have a justice of the peace system, but all their examinations are supported by the medical examiner in Bexar County, which covers San Antonio. Then if you see in the light blue, those are the states. They're county or district-based medical examiner office. That means the small areas or a single county will have a medical examiner. In the light purple, those are the states that have centralized state medical examiner's office, and that's where Virginia falls in. We have one overarching chief medical examiner, and then we have supported medical examiners throughout the state. And we'll see in detail what this means in a second. And then in green, you'll see that those are the states that only have county or district-based coroner office and no medical examiners in there. And you can see that those there's still a lot of those states. I would say that sometimes a central state medical examiner makes a lot of sense, just because you're able to centralize everything and provide the same standard services throughout the state. So the Virginia Office of Medical Chief Examiner was formed by the General Assembly in 1946. At that time, they decided that we needed to be a state system. And with that, we actually also provide all the support to provide investigations on dead scenes. So we, like I mentioned before, we have district offices throughout the state, and we have actually 4. And all of these offices are accredited by the National Association of Medical Examiners, or NAME. And this association just gives us the rules and standards that we have to follow in order to be have the standards for examinations and death investigations. Each district office is staffed by assistant chief medical examiners, medical death investigators, autopsy technicians, administrative personnel like myself, security officers, because we have to make sure that our operations are 24/7, so we have to make sure that everything is controlled. And we also have local medical examiners who are contractors for Virginia, OCME, and they help us with some examinations as well in the local level. I must also add that we do have the Virginia Anatomical State Program that falls under the OCME, in which this is a program in which families or descendants can, before they die, they can decide to donate the bodies to sciences. The OCME, we also have epidemiologists that can help us with information to better understand the deaths in Virginia. Like I mentioned, the General Assembly gave us a code, and the OCME has to perform examinations to any of the following deaths. Some of them are trauma, injury, violence, poisoning, accidents, suicide, or homicides. Some of the deaths that we investigate, like I mentioned before, there's fictional deaths, deaths due to criminal violence, accidents, suicides, drug overdoses, falls, work-related deaths, as well as unattended deaths. One cause of death that we do not investigate is natural causes of death, such as pandemic or related to pandemic. So COVID-19, they did not fall under our jurisdiction because they were natural deaths, and the cause and manner of death was known. So here's the map of the OCME. So we have 4 districts. First of all, the OCME overall covers 95 counties, 38 independent cities, and 8.63 million people. We see in the circle the Northern District that has its headquarters or is based in Manassas. This one covers 17 counties, 9 independent cities, and it covers about 3.25 million people. And then we have the central office or the central district. It covers about 39 counties, 7 independent cities, about 2.5 million people, and its offices are based in Richmond, and that's where I'm based as well. And you can see that the coverage area is the one in green. Similarly, we have Tidewater District. It covers about 8 counties, 10 independent cities, 1.7 million people, and its offices are located in Norfolk. And then we have Western District that has 34 counties, 12 independent cities, and about 1.3 million people. And it's one of the largest in territory, as you can see in blue. So now I want to talk about the partnerships between MRC and OCME. So in the past, we actually have partnered to collaborate when there is a mass fatality incident. So about, well, let me first start with what OCME does during mass fatality events. So the Virginia Office of the Medical Chief Examiner has defined a mass fatality incident as a single event that overwhelms its local capacities. And it could be anything from natural events, floods, earthquakes, hurricane accidents, terrorism, explosive, or chemical agents. What that means is what the amount of deaths can vary in any day, or what overwhelms our local capacities can vary any day. For example, if there is a day where there's a lot of accidents due to a holiday or something like that, and then we have an incident that has a large amount of decedents, that can become very quickly a mass fatality event. Some of the examples that we have here, it's like the Vegas incident where there was a person that was shooting through the hotel room through a concert and had created 59 deaths and over 500 injuries, and that became a mass fatality for Las Vegas. 9/11, that was also a mass fatality incident. And there could be some accident as well, like we saw in Miami-Dade and the building collapse. or for unfortunate events such as Uvalde Elementary School, where there were 21 fatalities, mostly of those children. So what does the OCME does during mass fatalities? So we still have to collect and examine the death, determine the nature and extent of the injury, recover forensic, medical, and physical evidence associated with the remains. We have to identify the fatalities using scientific means, certify the cause and manner of death, and all of these activities have to be sufficiently documented for admissibility in criminal and or civil courts. All of this, we also have to continue to have daily operations throughout the state. Like I said, we still have to make sure we recover and manage the death at the scene. So we do have individuals going to the scene. We also collect antemortem record data. So we usually staff what we call the family assistance centers and provide the examinations, release of remains to the next of kin, and as well to respond to media and political inquiries. So it's a lot of work that we have to do, and we do not have enough staff. So in 2014, the MRC and the OCME created a partnership in which they created a mass fatality response team. And we created a bunch of support roles, or a lot of support roles, and created the training as well for that. Unfortunately, we had to suspend this because of COVID. And we're actually, as we'll talk in a little bit, we're struggling with staff. So we had to put a pause on this on this team. However, this gave us the idea to actually create a support team, in which is the one that we're asking for your support to help volunteer at the OCME in daily operations, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We're still trying to bring back this team, so as soon as we're able to, we will, and we'll provide more information to everyone that may still be interested. So as I mentioned, we are struggling with staff, and we are we have the need to help support our daily operations. So one of our OCME employees, who's actually also an MRC volunteer, provided the idea that maybe we can tap into the MRC volunteer pool to help us provide support to the OCME in daily operations. And we thought it was a great idea, so we decided to create this team. And this is why we're here providing this orientation. So hopefully you can help us and join the team and help us support the operations. So as I mentioned, we created some volunteer opportunities. And again, these are mostly administrative support to help us with daily assistance. And some of them are medical death investigator assistant, administrative assistant, autopsy assistant. All of these are in-person opportunities. And I'll go into a little bit of detail in the next slides. So the administrative assistant, we're looking for administrative support. They will report to our district administrator in each of our offices, and most likely they will be assisting with preparing files for our CABL, assisting with processing requests. We usually get a lot of calls to make copies of the cases to provide to relatives or next of kin, or sometimes for insurance purposes or so on. So they will be helping us processing this request, case filing, or just offering general filing, and assisting with surpassing of outdated equipment. I know also that once a year, all of the offices usually get the older cases that we can no longer hold in our office, and they send it to the Library of Virginia. So that was something that potentially this person could help or assist with as well. As I mentioned, all of these are in-person opportunities. Oh, I skipped one. A medical death investigator assistant. As I mentioned, we do have medical death investigators who go to the scenes and provide investigative support to provide all the information to the medical examiner so they can determine cause and manner of death. But they also need assistance. They usually are the ones who take all the death calls, or and they decide whether it needs to follow up for a full autopsy, or it's a turn down that they most likely die of natural causes. So these investigators would need help with request records of to hospitals to help complete cases, or just go through a checklist to make sure everything is in order. File management, funeral home follow-up or calls. Sometimes they call us to make sure whether we can release the decedent or not. So they probably can help us with those calls, and just any other administrative tasks that they may be needing help the day of. This volunteer will report to the medical death investigator on call. They do work 24 hours, but most likely it is a volunteer position, will be between working hours. And then an autopsy tech assistance. So we're also looking help with at the morgue. This is probably the only position that would have a direct contact with decedents, but not necessarily working on decedents. So this position can help us with administrative tasks of file management, catalog and file DNA cards or toxicology records. So when we're doing examinations, we do take DNA and store them in case they're needed. Also take serology or to send to toxicology, and they can help us with those process or requests and then filing them. Answering calls, assisting body release, and then perhaps also in photography if the volunteer feels comfortable with. Again, this is perhaps the only position that may have direct contact with the students. We at the times may have some special projects. For example, I am the mass fatality response and planning manager, so I do attend to some exercises, and at times due to our staff shortage, they may not be able to attend, so there might be an opportunity in which I can invite some of you so they can come to these exercises and help us represent what the OCME will do in those exercises. Volunteer shifts, they're usually, they most likely will be 4 hours unless it's specified otherwise. Again, all of these are in-person positions. So what are our expectations? So I'm going to go through a list of maybe some questions that you may have, and I can help you answer it and what we expect. So first of all, confidentiality. So what we deal with is cases that can potentially go to court. So we have to make sure that we maintain chain of custody, that no information goes outside the OCME. So for that, we expect that there will be no social media, no posting for social media, photographs inside the OCME. Not share the information if you heard anything outside the OCME. HIPAA and confidentiality apply to participation in all OCME volunteer opportunities, no exceptions. If we know that you have been violating this, you're going to be subject to be asked to leave the team. Again, we have to ensure that our cases can follow a chain of custody, that they can go in scrutiny during a trial. So we have to make sure that this does not, that there's no interference in this. We also expect professional demeanor, professional appearance, so close to shoes if you're working in the morgue, otherwise just business casual. That you're able to work in a team in order to work at the OCME. We work in cases, and we have to, a lot of people work in a single case, so we have to make sure that you work as a team. Also flexibility, sometimes we're in the learning process, especially with this team, so we do ask a lot of that flexibility. Other than autopsy assistants, most roles do not have direct involvement with morgue operation. However, to be part of this team, you must be comfortable to review some sensitive information and/or pictures. Again, you may be dealing with the cases that do have the pictures, the examination pictures. You may be asked to do some of the filing or or make copies of those for requests or file requests. So you may have to be comfortable to review this information. So how to join the OCME support team? That's a great question. Hopefully you're still interested and we're at this step. So first of all, you have to be an approved MRC volunteer, have an application in the VVHS system. You have to make sure that you have a verification and sign of HIPAA and liability documents in the system. You pass a background check and you have an MRC issued badge. This is going to become important because once you come to our offices, that's how you're going to identify yourself. And again, because we have to make sure everybody's accounted at the office, it's a very secure office, we ask to wear this badge at all times. In addition, you have to complete the OCME volunteer orientation, which you're here, so hopefully you will be completing that shortly. Also, to ensure that you have the bloodborne pathogen class and the protecting confidentially information at VDH. These classes are in train, and here's the ID number, or you can also look for the training plan. That's the training plan number 5770, and it's called VDH OCME MRC Support Team. This training plan also includes the volunteer orientation, so you're most likely already ahead of the game here. So what happens when you arrive at the OCME office? So make sure you sign in and out when you arrive at the office, so you go, and this is for your own safety. Again, we have to, they're very secure offices, and so you have to be let in and out of the office if you go out. So wear your badge at all times when you're in the office, OCME office. There's not always the same people, so they most likely will not know that you're here, but with your badge, they know you belong there. The OCME expects professional behavior at all times. At any given time, there may be family of the decedents present that want to talk to the medical examiners about the cause of manner of death of their loved ones. There could also be other partner officials, lawyers that need to have information for the future trial that they're going to be working on. So again, just here is the map of OCME. So you can start thinking which office you might be most interested to work in. Some people ask if they can volunteer in several offices if they live right along the lines. This is completely acceptable. You're willing to make the drive, and we thank you for that. Just as a reference, the names are in your screen. They're the district administrators in the offices. They're the ones who you will be reporting when you get there. And they will follow up with you, so don't worry. I just wanted to make sure you have them ahead of time. So what are the next steps? Make sure you let your local coordinator know that you still like to join the team. Hopefully you do. Make sure you have all the training and that you complete the feedback form or the interest form that is in the QR code. So you can just get your phones and scan it. It will take you to a Google form and you can complete your interest in there. And then you will be waiting for OCME request. And you may be wondering, how are these OCME requests going to come to me? Well, here's the process that we have done so far. And again, this is a very new team, so we do ask for patience. So hopefully the OCME district administrator, the ones that manage the offices or the districts, will send a request to the regional coordinators. Then the MRC regional coordinators will be sending VVHS alerts to you all. And then you'll be able to select the shifts that you are interested in volunteering for and the volunteer opportunity that you're interested. Then OCME district administrators will follow up with you with the details and with parking and all of that. And then you show up at the OCME district office and you start making a difference and helping us out because we truly need it. And then hopefully you do it again and help us out. So at the top of your screen, you have the QR code again with the feedback form. I do appreciate it. I will appreciate it if you complete it. This is going to become important so we can assign you a team, and Mike will explain this in a second. And I think that's all I have. Thank you so much. Again, there's the feedback interest form QR code. If you can complete it, it's very important for us to have it. And I think Mike, it's back to you.
All right, thank you, Perla, and thank you to all the volunteers who are viewing this film. And we appreciate you showing interest in the OCME support team. Now, after having completed this orientation, you feel like, you know, this is not the assignment for you, that's okay. But if you are interested in continuing as a support volunteer, please sign up as instructed per Perla's last slide, and go ahead and sign up. There may be somewhat of a delay between when you sign up and when you start to volunteer, but we do hope to get this program off the ground sooner than later, because OCME really needs our support. So we'll work through that. In the meantime, also, as Perla mentioned, there's some training that you can go ahead and complete. So appreciate that as well. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you very much.